Well, hello again, Warrior fans. Of course, this is Scott, and yes, an ordinary man, and I always say an extraordinary fan. But I got to tell you, last night, I'm sure, just like every member of the Warriors organization, I was but from a fan perspective, I was a frustrated, and last night I was a very angry fan. The team laid an egg in possibly the most important and critical game of the season. It was critical for the Mavs, where that was their second game in a back-to-back, on the road on the West Coast, and they came out like gangbusters. They were on fire, and the Warriors showed no energy. They showed no effort. Um, like they typically do. Because they're laying some traps on Steph. He's got to be able to get rid of the ball sooner, and other guys got to pick it up. Now, Steph's credit, he ended up with 27, and didn't even play the fourth quarter. But still, and Mulder had a great game in terms of scoring and field goal efficiency. Career high 26 points. Some of it came in the fourth, but that doesn't matter. The team needed to step up as a team, as a unit, and I'm going to play some of the feedback from Coach Kerr and from Juan Toscano-Anderson as well. And to their credit, as always, they step up, they take accountability. If the team's not ready, if they're not ready, and to a man, that Warriors team, nobody feels worse than they do. But that was one of the most critical games of the season. So, as I had mentioned yesterday, last night, there were two key games: Trailblazers and the Pacers. Trailblazers lose, that'd be a big step up for the Warriors, as well as some other teams chasing them. Well, Trailblazers took care of business, and they won, 133-112. But as all of you know, the Warriors just played terrible. At one point, they were down by 43 points. I think at one point, either the Mavericks scored either 25 or 28 in a row. So basically unanswered by the Warriors. Key was Warriors, like nothing was going down for them, and defensively, they couldn't stop them. They certainly, for a long stretch, they couldn't stop Luka, no matter what they did. So I'm going to show some highlights, some lowlights. I've got a couple of old friends visiting today to kind of, put some humor around how terrible we feel, just so we can let it go and move on to the next games that will be up and coming. 10 games left. So, I said yesterday is critical. I said every game is critical. It is. The Warriors now are a game behind Spurs and the Grizzlies. And one thing I believe I mentioned yesterday, because of the Pelicans winning, they were 3.5 games back. Of the final 10 games, the Warriors play the Grizzlies 3 times, head to head. So the Grizzlies, if they can catch up a half a game, they can take care of business themselves. They possibly can move up. If the Warriors remain in that 10th spot, the Grizzlies can make a run at the Warriors. And the Warriors, if they aren't careful, if they don't win the remaining games or close to all of their remaining games, they could find themselves out of the play-in spots as well. Anyway, obviously very, very frustrated. So I'm going to share some of my feelings, like I said, by inviting my old buddies here and show some highlights. And I'll let them kind of roll with it here so we can try and, again, just release all these bad feelings and try and do it with some humor. I'll be right back to you.
This show is awful. Terrible. Disgusting. See you next week, of course. I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't watched it. Believe what? I don't know. I wasn't watching. Oh! I didn't like it. What do the avocado think? It's the pitch. I can't believe those rats were responsible for this show. Why not? They were also responsible for the bubonic plague. Hey, you old fool! You slept through the show! Who's a fool? You watched it! Finally, we've seen him do a good show. Good. Can we please stop coming now? No! You think this show is educational? Yes, it'll drive people to read books. What kind of show would you call that? Frankly, I'd call it quits. Quits! Quits! Oh!
The show is canceled.
Good night. So long. Oh, no! Well, I really like this show tonight. At these prices, who's gonna complain? This theater is solid as a rock. Watch this. Watch out! Oh. Please surrender! Pay up. They made it through another one. Double or nothing next week's show? You're on. I thought for once the show really caught fire. I thought it burned itself out, same as always. I loved it. So what? You also loved World War II. I liked that last number. What did you like about it? It was the last number. Oh. Well, the show tonight certainly didn't lay an egg. What a bet. You think there's life in outer space? There's certainly none in this theater. He shouldn't have jumped. The show's not that bad. Well, as they say in France, adios. That's Spanish. I know, I don't speak French. How should we know how to get to Sesame Street? We don't even know how to get out of this stupid theater box. I think I ought to see a doctor. Oh, why do you say that? I'm beginning to like the show.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It's my attempt at a little humor from, of course, the very famous old grumpy men in the balcony, Statler and Waldorf, that have been around for decades. But, and, you know, of course, the show, the term show is analogous to the Warriors game and the arena, and I just thought it was a humorous way to try and release some of the tension that probably most of us have. All right, so what do we do going forward? And like I said, I will play a couple interviews back from Coach Kerr and TCA as well, and let's talk about going forward. So we have, in terms of critical games, I'm not even going to include the Lakers anymore, because even though other than the fact the Mavericks are chasing them, and so there's likely going to be some good competition there to grab that sixth spot. But nevertheless, the Spurs play the Heat today. That could be positive, but both teams are playing well. So that should be a very competitive game. Can't count on anything at this point. Now the Pelicans are playing the Nuggets. So let's hope the Nuggets can keep it up and can push the Pelicans back down another half game as far as the Warriors are concerned. Now here's a very positive game for, again, us Warrior fans, the Trailblazers and the Grizzlies. Again, somebody's got to lose. Either one is going to be very beneficial to the Warriors. But make no mistake, the Warriors going forward, they got to take care of business. Every single game, they have to give it everything they got to come away with a win. And again, a reasonable man. I'm not saying they didn't give everything they got. At times it just doesn't happen. But the entire team, seriously, like how does that happen? The entire team, like again, and that's not technically accurate when you look at Steph's shooting percentage and getting 27, not even playing the fourth quarter. Mulder's shooting percentage and getting a career high at 26. And some of his did come in the fourth period. Draymond did get 11 boards. He didn't play the fourth period either, but they could never stop the Mavericks. So defensively, no matter what the Warriors did, they couldn't stop Luka. They couldn't stop the Mavericks. Everybody was hitting. They didn't guard him up high enough. They didn't try to get the ball out of Luka's hands. I mean, it just never ended. And that was the worst part about the game, is even if the Warriors went on a tiny streak and could get a couple of buckets, they couldn't stop the Mavericks on the other end, no matter what point in the game it was. So, and I know Coach Kerr and the rest of the team, they know that. They recognize that. And I'm sure they're going to do everything they can to make sure it doesn't happen again. But as I mentioned a few episodes ago, these guys aren't robots. It's just when you see a team lay an egg like that, it is most frustrating, not only to them, but to us fans, because you never see an entire team, go down like that, where another team reels off 25, 28 straight. And that, one of the worst games I have seen as a Warriors fan. Nevertheless, those are I'd say the key games. The Jazz and the Kings play as well, the Clippers and the Suns, but neither of those games will impact the Warriors. So key games, again, for the Warriors. Spurs and Heat, 5 o'clock Pacific time. Trailblazers, Grizzlies, and then the Pelicans and the Nuggets. Each of those at 6 p.m. for all those of you who will be watching. So I am going to now play an interview from Steve Kerr press conference, and that'll be followed up by Juan Toscano Anderson comments at the after game conference as well. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that concerned about a 9-minute scoring drought. I'm concerned about defense. I'm concerned about a level of intensity and preparation and competitiveness. That's what was missing. And I'm the head coach, so I did not have them ready to play. Clearly, biggest game of the year, and it was over before it started. So really, really disappointing. But we've got a young team. I think of the guys who are out there tonight, I think we only have 3 guys who've been in the playoffs. Tonight was kind of like a playoff game for Dallas. They lost last night. They know we were right on their heels. They came out like it was a playoff game, and we came out like it was an exhibition game, and very disappointing.
I mean, you guys are obviously still 31-31 right in the thick of the play-in bracket, but you've had a lot of blowout losses this season. Why do you think it is that it seems like when you guys have a bad performance, it's like a really bad performance?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought we were done with those, Anthony. I thought those were more a case of just, being early in the year, not ready, for the competition that we were facing, playing some different combinations, that kind of stuff. I thought we were beyond that, but obviously, we took another one on the chin tonight. So, like I said, just really disappointing. I'm disappointed in myself for not having them better prepared. I'm disappointed in the way we just didn't meet the challenge as a group. It's a shame, but we got 10 games left, and we've got a lot to play for, and we will be better prepared next game. I know that.
All
start the season, Steve comes in and he says, I'm the head coach. I did not have the team prepared to play. So how much should Steve and the coaching staff be drill sergeants, and how much should the team have the right competitive spirit without needing to hear that from the coaches?
I think that is very commendable on Steve's part to take the blame. But you know what? I can sit here and take the blame as well. You know, my job on this team is to be a spark. My job on this team is to bring energy and uplift my guys when we're in situations like that. So I can sit here and say it's my fault. We're adults. You know, it's a long season. We're going to have good games. We're going to have bad games. Tonight was just a tough day at the office. And so I don't think, we came in unprepared. We weren't prepared to play. So I think it's just that. I don't think there's any, it's not rocket science. So I'll stand up and say it's my fault as well. You know, I didn't come and do my job today. So.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with me. So, I took some notes just because, Coach Kerr, for several years now, has shown what true leadership is. And, it really doesn't even matter what the topic is. He comes from a place of integrity and respect and compassion. And, I can't say enough about Coach Kerr. But you could see, even with a game like that, he took it upon himself to be accountable for not having the team ready. And his focus and what he was most disappointed in was their defensive intensity, their overall level of intensity, and their overall competitiveness. And I mentioned early effort, but the team never, just doesn't try. And there's no way that this is a problem last night with the team not trying. This, and that's what lack of effort really means. But competitiveness is a better word to use. It's another level of intensity that many of us have never experienced and will never experience until you reach that optimum competition level, if you will, in whatever industry or whatever specialty you may be involved in. That is over and above anything that most of us can even try and relate to. But that is just great leadership, as always. Accountability is integrity, and accountability is first and foremost in so many aspects of our life. But when you're running a team, you're heading a team, and you are trying to provide leadership, you can't do it without starting with accountability, integrity, and having respect, and displaying respect, and compassion, and also being humble and having humility. Like, he displays all those attributes on a consistent basis, and has ever since he's been here, and even before that, when you would see him, he has always been that person. So no wonder that he would make comments like that after his team frankly just laid an egg. I don't know how else to describe it, but they know it, they understand it, but they got to move on from it. And then you see a young player like Juan Toscano-Anderson. JTA is, I'm assuming his friends like to call him, that's what I keep hearing him referred to. But he also, as a young player, stepping up, he sees himself responsible for that role on the team to bring the team up, bring their energy level up. Get them playing tough defense, get after it at all times. And, he stepped up and said he took accountability. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said, is that he's just as responsible as Coach Kerr. And I think every player, like, they're the ones out there playing. So there's no question, especially on this team, with leaders like Steph and Draymond. There's no way that anybody gets by with just slacking off. They all see themselves as accountable for how they played. So, try to put a positive spin going forward, and we try to release that, let's just call it an outlier, what happened last night, because, there's no way that after they just had that game, that they're going to allow that to happen again, especially in these next remaining 10. And you can see what those remaining 10 are. There is no way that they are going to allow that to happen in these next 10 games and or in the playoffs in terms of their level of intensity and competitiveness. They may go streaks where somebody just can't hit a bucket, but they're going to dig on defense. They're going to dig on boards. They're going to, 50-50 balls. They're going to get after. All those things that help generate offense when offense isn't working, that is going to happen because nobody on that team wants this to happen again. And I will knock on wood. Did you hear that? I will knock on wood just to make sure I didn't jinx anybody here. All right? So let's go over these 10 games. Their remaining 10, as you can see, the Warriors and Timberwolves. Timberwolves have been hot here recently. They don't have a shot for the playoffs, but they're not giving in. Everybody's playing. Every team appears to be playing to the very end. So they're going to make it tough on the Warriors tomorrow night. You can guarantee it. The Rockets and the Warriors. The Rockets don't have John Wall. He's out for the rest of the season, hamstring issue. So I'll make it a little easier, but I guarantee that the other players on the floor, they don't want to lose. They're going to make it tough on the Warriors, as tough as they can. Now, really tough games next, May 3rd, May 4th, back-to-back against the Pelicans. That's what I mentioned earlier. The Pelicans have got 3 more games left with the Warriors. So if you don't think that they're going to get after it, you're badly mistaken. They are. They got a shot to get that 10 spot if they can take down the Warriors, and depending on what happens in the couple of games before then. So the Warriors also have to get after it. They got to treat this just like it's the NCAA tournament. They can't really afford to lose one of those games. They can't afford to lose hardly 1 or 2 of any of these games. But those are really critical when you lose head-to-head, because the Pelicans can gain a full game on the Warriors should they beat them head-to-head. Thunder and Warriors next. That's also going to be a back-to-back. They got a day break. They got 2-day break. But Thunder Warriors. The Jazz and the Warriors, and then the Suns and the Warriors. Really tough games for the Warriors. So will the Jazz be at full strength and Suns be at full strength? I suspect so, even though there's only less than a handful of games left in the season for them. But they're also playing for playoff spots. There's only a game or 2 separating the Jazz and the Suns and the Clippers and Denver. So those are expected to be tough games for the Warriors. So they got to take care of business on the first 6, because playing the Jazz and the Suns, those are going to be tough wins for them. So they got to make sure at least they get those first 6. And then games 7 and 8, huge, depending on what happens to the Warriors and the Pelicans early on, and what happened in the other games, and who's in the 10th spot and the 9th spot, and where the Pelicans are at when they play the Pelicans again on May 14th. Did I use the word compelling yet? There you go. And very compelling. And the Grizzlies and the Warriors, holy smokes. Could this be a play for the 8th spot versus the 9th spot or 10th spot? Don't know, but it is going to be exciting. nonetheless. So I wanted to leave on a positive spin. Like I said, we're going to be looking forward now. We're not going to look at that outlier game anymore from last night. And now going forward, also wanted to take a look at, let's look at Mr. Steph here and some highlights because, again, tough game last night, but Steph still shot a high field goal percentage, high 3-point percentage, and he reached 93s for the month of April. He surpassed Harden, who was at 82 and held the record previously, but he pushed his lead up to 90, and he's got one game left to try and reach the 100 mark. So obviously that would be amazing. More important for the Warriors to win, and I know Mr. Steph Curry would say that without any delay in his thought process whatsoever. Warriors got to win first and foremost. But could he reach a 100 mark and the Warriors win? That would be ideal, and I'm sure he would love to do that. But in no way and no uncertain terms is he going to try and reach that 100 mark and push aside the good of the team and have the team lose as a result. If he dishes the ball to the open man, it's because that's the best play at the time, not because he's trying to break a record, or he's already broken a record, or set a new record, extended, and reach a milestone of 100, which would be amazing. And again, to be optimistic in this session, optimistically, Warriors are still only a game behind the 8th and 9th spots. They're only a game and a half behind the Blazers. And with everything we said today and how critical that game was last night, that's still where they end up with 10 games left. So it's anybody's race for the 6th through the 10th spots. Everybody is a contender, including the Warriors, even after that loss last night. And not to mention only 2.5 behind the Mavs. So if something should happen to the Mavs in the next, like if they should lose 4 games out of their remaining 10 or so, the door is wide open for the Warriors and other teams to make some adjustments in the standings. All right, everybody, that's it for today. So great to be a Warriors fan. Feel like I've kind of gotten that bad outlier, that horrible game out of my system. Hopefully I helped you get those bad vibes out of your system as well. And let's just look ahead. Let's think positive. We know the Warriors aren't going to play that way again. And again, everybody stay healthy out there. And thank you for taking the time to watch another episode of Dubs Playoff Watch. Everybody take care.